New data from the New York Fed and the widely watched University of Michigan inflation survey suggest stagflation is on the way for the first time since the 1970s. First, the official data. On Friday, the New York Fed said its iconic recession model now shows a 68% chance of recession, which is up 10 points on the month. This is the highest level since the horrific 1982 recession that saw nearly 11% unemployment, the worst since the Great Depression, and that lasted 3 long years. Note, we have had 3 actual recessions since 1982 that did not even hit today's level on the Fed model. Meanwhile, new numbers from the University of Michigan show Americans are losing faith that the Fed can actually control inflation, as expectations for the next 5 years inflation jumped to 3.2%. That is the highest in 15 years. Note, it is even higher than during last year's raging inflation that ultimately hit 8.5%. In other words, the public gave the Fed the benefit of the doubt last year, but now they are losing faith that the Fed remains in control. They're starting to bake in higher inflation into the future. And keep in mind, this is after the most aggressive Fed rate hikes in 50 years, hikes that have already crashed banks with more to come. Put it all together, and the data is saying we have got historic odds of a severe recession paired with the worst inflation since the 1970s, plus, as an added bonus, a 2008-style banking crisis. As Joe Biden says, this economy is strong as hell. So why is stagflation happening? The inflation part is easy. The Fed and bankers printed $6 trillion in fresh money, most of which went to finance $7 trillion in federal deficits, to buy lockdowns, and to feed hungry activists and crony capitalists. The good news is this is very easy to fix, at least in theory. Just stop printing money, meaning the Fed stops buying stuff by typing zeros in spreadsheets and using that imaginary money to buy everything in sight. Then stop yanking rates down to zero every time the economy tries to clear out the deadwood, which gives us a Japanese-style zombie economy and tees up the next inflation recession cycle to bail out. The simplest, of course, is just end the Fed. As for the recession, some of that comes from the money printing, that inflation recession cycle where easy money from low rates feeds a bunch of crap businesses from WeWork to Dogecoin, and then tighter money wipes them out in a cluster. The rest of it comes from ongoing hits from regulation, ratcheting up taxes, which screw producers, wipe out entrepreneurs, or scare them off in the first place, and that chase entire industries out of the country to places like China or Mexico. So what happens next? Unless U.S. policy takes a 180, which it won't, the ship is headed for the stagflation iceberg. That would mean continued inflation, continued falling wages like we've seen these past 2 years, paired with mass layoffs and soaring bankruptcies. For regular Americans, the key is, number 1, protect your savings, so diversify into inflation hedges like gold, build up a cash reserve. You always want cash in a recession, even in an inflationary recession. And number 2, protect your income, so build skills, nurture your network. If you like your job, work hard to make sure you're indispensable. And if you like your business, keep the shoulder to the wheel. Okay, we'll be watching. See you next time.